Hi and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan,
Sean,
Lee.
And you're punching the mic stand already.
A little bit. Little tiny bit.
I'm leaving
start
that in.
as we mean to go on.
It's not a massive spike.
Will be by the time I've finished mixing it. It'll wake everybody up after that sleep fest of a Spanish Grand Prix.
I know, yeah, it was a bit dull, wasn't it?
I rushed home for that. I was at work until gone 2 o'clock and I flew home and
You missed a good bit.
kind of wondering if it was worth the effort.
Yeah.
Well, it's worth the effort that you get to talk about it all again tonight.
Well, that's true, yeah.
There was one story, and that isn't the race. In that race,
Ooh,
wasn't there?
which bit are you going for? The Hasses?
No, the red fellas. The two red fellas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, we'll get to them in a bit because hell.
That's a podcast. What's going on
Itself,
around
what
there.
the fuck is Ferrari as a podcast?
Yeah, I mean, somebody sent us a tweet saying, how the hell are you going to get a 90-minute plus podcast out of a race like that? I did answer swearing mainly.
Yes, yeah.
But, yeah, the Ferrari strategy team. Right, we'll start at the back. Williams, they were there.
They were definitely there.
I don't know if any of you follow it on Twitter, but I found it today. I've never seen it before, and it's something like Formula One. I can't remember. I can't find it. Oh no, I can't bother finding it.
If only you had some
The effort is
technology
real.
in front of you.
No, it'll
iPhone, MacBook
take-
Pro, iPad Pro.
It'll take too long to find it, but it's like Formula One visualized. I think it's called.
Oh, the ones that do the pixel art.
Yes.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
I've seen. Yeah.
I implore anyone to go and look at that because they had one from like whichever year HRT is it? Was it HRT and Midland that came in? What were they called? The two new teams, Marussia, and what was the other one? No, the other one with where Chandok drove.
HRT.
Was it HRT?
Yeah.
Right.
It was Hispania Racing or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They had that year and like this year on the same page. So I watched this year's visualization of going through the race, and then just to contrast, looked at last year's. HRT weren't as far away from the rest of the pack as Williams are, which is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, because HRT were terrible.
They were awful, and you could. I ended up watching the whole race because the whole race goes across in about a minute. And it was only when it got to the end and the other cars had stopped and then the Williams came into the picture, I remembered there was Williams. At least the HRT stayed on the same picture all the way through, drifting further and further and further back. But even when the pit stops happened, like the Williams don't even really interfere with other people's pit stops. You know, because after a few laps, I think Hamilton was lapping Kubica by lap 18, something like that.
It was very early.
It was lap 19 that was
it?
the first lapping because I noted that on the blog.
Crazy.
Yeah, that is how far off the pace they are, and apparently Williams aren't going to hire new technical staff to fix the problem. They're going to do it all in-house with the people that they've got.
Yeah, good luck.
No, I think they're probably right. I don't think it's the brains in there. They are one of the teams that have been around the longest. They've had two like really top Formula One guys in over the last couple of seasons. They haven't managed to make a difference. So it's something else. We know what you know what I think it is.
You might have mentioned your opinion once or twice.
Yeah.
Do you know what? This is going to be a great one to talk about next week when Scarbs is back on with us.
It'd be brilliant. I missed that, didn't I? Because I was I in hospital last time Scarbs was on?
Yeah.
So no, that will be. It'd be great.
So yeah, plugging next week's show already. We will have Craig Scarborough on next week because obviously there's a lot of new updates coming through. There's a lot of things from testing that's going on in the next couple of days to talk about, and Scarbs is a general mine of information. So looking forward to that already. Actually, just to get another plug in while we're on, we have our other show on Patreon that helps support everything that we do for the main podcast. And you can subscribe to that from $1 a month. And if you go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels, you can sign up there. You get an extra show and occasional sort of exclusives, some shows posted early. And there'll be another one of the exclusive early shows coming up soon because we're doing a live from the track with Sean Kelly at Canada.
Ooh.
Sorted that out this afternoon.
Ah, very good.
I've just got to find the time to record it because it's slap bang in the middle of TT. So yeah, we've got those coming up. Back to what happened in Spain. Alfa Romeo next. Not a great week for them.
They were also a bit of a, they were there.
First time.
Raikkonen flew off the track at the start, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Qualifying wasn't great. They seemed off the pace on Saturday, and then Kimi getting a bad start on Sunday, ending up 14th.
And then in the race, Giovinazzi
Was
pitted
there.
very early, pitted lap 7 or 8, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a really early stop and switched onto hard tyres, and then they just didn't work either.
Well, you feel the races that Ferrari are going to struggle at. Sauber will probably struggle as well.
Potentially, yeah.
Could be. I think this could also have been a case of strategy gone wrong because Kimi was
just wasn't there.
Yeah,
even
Kimi was playing
qualifying.
catch up, but the hard tyres were 1.3 seconds a lap slower than the softs, and you're not going to catch people up. I mean, he went for a one stopper; it just did not work.
I also realised Giovinazzi has been so innocuous in this season that he could walk in this room and I wouldn't know who he was.
Does he ever get interviewed?
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
he was
he
interviewed
seems
on the grid this weekend. That's how I know. I had no idea who he was.
I actually don't mind him as an interviewee. I find him quite engaging. He's just a bit of a meh driver so far. Season is young, I suppose, but
Yeah.
is this the first race Kimi hasn't got points as
It
well?
is, yes. Yeah, because I mean he's been top 10 in the 4 races up to now, and then no pun intended, but not at the races this weekend.
No.
Didn't see him go off. Did anyone actually notice what happened?
He locked his rear wheels,
Ah,
and it just sort of threw him wide. He almost kept it on the track, but it just sent him into the gravel.
right, okay. Talking of gravel, Racing Point next. Again, lousy weekend.
Well, I think what we really need to look at here is, especially from Racing Point, because they brought all those updates with them. They brought all the updates with them and gone backwards, which is not what we're used to seeing from.
They usually develop
Force
quite
Point
well, don't
one.
they? Yeah.
Revenge of the Indias.
Worst Star Wars film ever.
no, remember the one with Jar Binks in it?
Second worst Star Wars film ever.
Yeah, it's that's what surprised me, I think, most about as we go through this. Same with Sauber too. You know, there was a host of updates came, and it only seems like a couple of teams actually benefited from all the updates.
Yeah, I mean, Racing Point weren't actually too public about what they'd upgraded on the car.
It was. I read it was just shy of being a B car.
God.
Pretty much the entire front end, I think, isn't it? All the aero is different.
The car they were using up until this weekend was was last year's car with made to be legal essentially this year.
Yeah, they're still suffering from
going into
everything
administration.
Yeah.
Being ran by a pirate, for instance.
Yeah, that's the thing. Just because they've got money now, they were still at that point behind on the work for this year's car, and they can't just snap their fingers and it be fixed.
Well, do you remember when Renault brought Lotus back again?
Yeah.
And when you saw the trucks and stuff like that, you could still see the Lotus emblems where it had been painted over. Well, the Force Indias ones are like that, but you can still see the Jolly Roger behind.
I mean, Stroll's crash. He was exonerated by the stewards for what happened between him and Lando Norris.
Who's just quickly
fair
around
enough.
the table? Who do we blame?
Racing
More-
incident for me.
Yeah, I think if Stroll was, if that had been a Hamilton or a Vettel where Stroll was,
Wouldn't have been
they
an
would have given
accident.
him the room.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, he left enough of a gap, didn't he? That
Well, I thought
It was
I thought it
tempting.
was Lando when I saw the off-board shot, but as soon as you saw the on-board shot, you thought, oh,
Yeah.
actually,
there's
he
enough
was
of a
halfway
window.
up the car.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
but by the rules, Lando should have backed out. Stroll could have given the room.
Yeah. Oh, it's
I-
a racing
I agree
incident.
with
Yeah.
the stewards.
Yeah. It's a racing
Yeah, one
incident,
of
but
those.
I
Both of
think
them.
one of them could have stopped the incident happening. I just want to know if you agree or whether I've already got Lando-coloured spectacles.
Lando went for a gap that stopped being there when he was halfway into it.
I think he said in the pit, didn't he, that Stroll drove like he just expected my McLaren to disappear.
That is pretty much it, because Lando went for the gap and then Stroll turned in, while Stroll says that he was in the right because he was on the racing line and Lando wasn't, but Lando was already halfway past him.
Still Stroll's corner.
If Stroll's got the racing line, then
yeah.
Lando should have backed out, but
Lando should have backed out. Stroll should have given Lando the room.
Just one of those cases where they both thought.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Can't really say much. And we move on to another team that are disappointing as well, Renault. Oh,
So anonymous.
what the hell?
But this is another team that I think brought loads of updates and nothing seems to be there.
Well, they had new front ends, didn't they? And Hulkenberg lost his.
He broke one, yeah.
He broke one, so had to be replaced with the old one.
Yeah.
But he didn't end up too far away from Ricciardo, though, with given he's got the old front end and he started from the pit lane.
Ricciardo has given the team a bit of a slagging. Not happy with strategy.
Well,
It's
they
not
threw
a
him on
great
the hard
sign.
tyre, didn't they?
But that's not great if he's already getting a bit.
Well, let's face it, I think if anyone gets put on the same strategy as Leclerc, you're probably on the wrong one.
Yeah, I mean, what Danny Rick said was they underachieved. You can't really fault what he's saying.
I don't know if they did, though.
He reckons he had the same pace as Sainz, who finished in the points.
Yeah, they were racing each other, so... that's where Renault should be. They should be up there with the McLaren, shouldn't they?
But yeah, I mean, they made a mistake with the tyres. It looks like the hard tyres just weren't the right call for anyone.
Yeah. I wonder how long it's going to take because I noticed in the pen interviews with Ricciardo, like you say, he gave the team a bit of a slack in. He obviously wasn't happy with the race, and I'm just wondering whether this is just the beginning of the realisation of what he's done in his
I think the head's dropped a little bit, hasn't it?
Buyer's remorse.
Yeah. When you're already getting what I'd imagine was a reasonable wage packet from Red Bull, there's only so long you can dry your eyes with extra money, I suppose, when you're a sportsman.
Yeah, but I mean, from fighting for wins to fighting for 11th.
That's not right,
and
is it?
Losing.
And losing the battle for 11th as well.
And I think it's the same decision as McLaren made when they went with Honda.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to win a world championship with Red Bull. If they had a sniff of a world championship, Verstappen was going to be the preferred driver.
Yeah. Do you think that would have happened? Because I think he's odd thinking that, because if that was the case, he wouldn't have been allowed to beat Vettel like he did. I think he'd have had the opportunity, but he would have had to beat Max.
I think he would have had the opportunity if he was clearly beating Max, but they were roughly on a par.
Yeah.
And I think Max would have got the preferential treatment.
They were in Ferrari territory.
Yeah.
No, they know when to make pit stops.
well. It's.
I mean, where do we see the rest of this season going for Renault? Because it's looking bloody hopeless for him at the minute.
I think they've got to almost from what Renault are and what they want to do. They're almost got a Williams it now, haven't they? Keep developing the car for what you can carry on to next year and focus on next year.
Sadly, I think you might be right on that, because this season is starting to look like a bit of a write-off for him. Has Hulk actually got points this season?
I think so.
I think he did.
Yeah, there's only three drivers not got points. I think Giovinazzi and the Williamses.
But yeah, I mean, this is not a position that Renault should be in. Let's have a look.
I think, did he in Australia? Did he pick up like a token effort there?
Yeah. Hulk's on 6 and Ricciardo's on 6. I mean, 12 points per Renault by 5 races in. That is unthinkable.
Yeah. Not good for a team that wants to be getting podiums next year.
And wants to win world championships the year after.
Beatable has said that their long-term aims have not changed. Which, It seems a bit ambitious.
They've taken on a load of senior technical and engineering staff to prepare for 2021, so they're writing off next season already as well.
I mean, my long-term goals haven't changed, but Christina Ricci has never felt so far away.
It's been 18 years since she set foot on the Isle of Man. Let it go.
And I can still sniff the same spot.
Toro Rosso next. Do we call Danny Kvyat resurgent yet?
Definitely compared to 2 years ago.
I think he's going to end up in a Red Bull this year.
Do you think?
Yep. Because although Gasly's had a decent couple of races, there was a restart and he was still over 10 seconds behind his teammate from the restart.
He had, I'm sure we'll get onto this when we come to Red Bull, but he did have a problem.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I didn't know he had a problem. I didn't watch the post stuff.
But yeah, this is the best that we've seen of Danny Kvyat since the first time he was in a Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
You know, this is what got him promoted. Still say it was too early.
No, I don't think he was this good when he got promoted. I don't, because if you remember rightly, when we were talking about Danny Kvyat going to Red Bull, we all thought it was a bad idea before he even stepped into the car.
I said it was a year too soon.
Yeah, but anyone would think that maybe Toro Rosso are bringing drivers into Formula One too early. You know, it's just out there. I know it's fucking crazy, but you know, anyone would think that maybe another year in a junior series before Formula One might benefit them.
It kind of worked for Verstappen, but has it worked for anyone else?
I've hammered Verstappen a little bit when he was a bit crashy. But to be perfectly honest, it does seem to be looking at more along the lines that he's exceptional.
Yeah.
They put him in F1 because if they didn't, someone else was going to, rather than because he was ready.
I think what he's doing in that Red Bull, when you look at where his teammate is, nothing short of what Alonso was doing with the McLaren. But yeah,
close by.
But yeah, I think he needs to. Danny Kvyat must be under pressure because we know how Red Bull hot swap drivers. And Red Bull want to be a race-winning and championship-winning team again. So you've got to think, if they are going to be the race-winning, championship-winning team again, if that's the disparity between drivers, even if Verstappen can win a race, then your Verstappen wins a race and Gasly comes fourth.
Yeah.
You know, it's not right.
Last year, Verstappen would have won 1 or 2. Ricciardo would have won 1 or 2.
I still think Verstappen will win a race this year.
I would not bet against that.
Wet Grand Prix or something, or one of those ones where it just happens to work, or Hungary, the car just happens to work there. I can see it anyway.
Yeah. But I mean, staying on Toro Rosso, Alexander Albon, 11th, decent performance again.
Yeah. Good race for both of them, to be honest.
Yeah, he's. I think he is one that was ready to make the step up, and. I mean, performance-wise, I would say he's probably the joint second best of the rookies.
I think Gasly might land, looking at Toro Rosso as well, on whatever Dan Ticktum gets up to this year. Because if Dan Ticktum gets himself to be able to go into Formula One, and Danny Kvyat's doing really well, Alexander Albon looks like the real deal, one of those drivers has to move somewhere.
Well, don't forget that Gasly looked like the real deal in a Toro Rosso.
He did for a race, though.
He looked better than Hartley.
That is a very good point.
I can only remember
better than Hartley.
I can only remember like 1 or 2 races where Gasly was like exceptional. It's not like...
but there wasn't a great deal to compare him against when you look at his teammate. Yeah. With all of his experience.
Yeah. In endurance racing.
Yeah, of course, but now it's all his experience in Formula One that he's taken to endurance racing.
But he never looked like a Sainz or Verstappen in Toro Rosso.
Racy.
Yeah, but he never looked racy in the same way as we've seen really good Toro Rosso drivers racy. You know, like Daniel Ricciardo or like Sainz or Verstappen.
Yeah.
So,
or even Vettel.
He's back to the will of the wisp, wherever he needs to go.
Well, I think Dan Ticktum's going to be the one threat because they've got Pato O'Ward now on the Meat Grinder programme.
I saw that. Yeah.
Who celebrated his signing for Red Bull by turning into Danny Kvyat and rear-ending Alex Rossi in the IndyCar before the start line.
Also, he does have enough points for a super license.
He does.
He does.
Yeah. So
he's good. I like him.
Yeah, Dan Ticktum doesn't at the moment. He's on the testing lineup this week, but we'll talk about testing later.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Pato O'Ward later as well. But when it comes to swapping drivers about, I think Albon is safe for this season in Toro Rosso.
This year?
This year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think both the drivers in Toro Rosso are fully deserving to be there, and they're not going anywhere. The only reason one of them's going to go there is if the big team needs somebody.
Talking to Brandon Hartley, though, he was there with Ferrari for the first time this weekend.
What a great impact that had.
Yeah, I wonder if he was in charge of the strategy. So you bring the driver in, then you swap it for another driver. Hang on, I might be onto something here. Tell you what, we'll talk about McLaren instead.
Yeah.
Sainz 8th on a weekend where he said he thought he had no chance of points because he didn't think that they had the pace for it.
To be fair, he always says that. I'm getting a little bit bored of Sainz saying how off the pace McLaren are.
It's a Sainz thing though. He just gets on and does it though, doesn't he? You know, I've said this about him since he started in Toro Rosso 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
He just gets on, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, he's got a top 10 finish when he didn't deserve one.
Did anyone see the tweets between Lando and Sainz?
About the safety car.
Yeah. Sainz thanked Lando for the safety car, and Lando tweeted him back saying, "You're welcome." You see, I think Sainz said, "I owe you a safety car."
Was it just me, or when Lando and Stroll had that collision, did anybody get a sudden craving for licorice all sorts?
No.
It looked like a giant one when they were sort of smushed together.
What?
With the pink and the
With the pink and the orange.
Licorice all sorts of orange.
You
They're
get
black, aren't they?
You get orange licorice.
I'm not massive on licorice, sorry.
Ah, right.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Yeah.
All I really know is I like the ones with the brown top, like the little square ones.
That is the best one.
Yeah.
I don't like the ones which are all bubbly, like look like tyres.
No. They're a bit
Well,
weird.
they're quite
That
nice.
I find you picking out your teeth for the rest of the day. All the little knobbly bits.
Yeah, no, they get stuck everywhere.
Watch it, Sean. We've got some weird listeners. You'll be
You'll be getting some interesting tweets this week. But yeah, Sainz again, just completely getting on with it, doing it, and I think, Lee, you're not going to like this, but I think he is actually the better of the two McLaren drivers.
I think
when it comes to consistency,
I think he should be. What I reckon Lando needs to work out, it seems to be his starts. He seems to be very leery off the starts, trying to make up far too many places in one go.
He seems to find himself like wheel to wheel with someone
or
straight
going
away.
wide somewhere. And
well, this was Lando's worst start because he started 10th, and by turn 2, I think he was 17th.
Well, but he had a really good start and got boxed in. I think that it was one of those ones where he had nowhere to go. But again, he put himself in the position where he
does
had nowhere
seem to sort
to
of
go.
hurry to the scene of a crash.
Yeah.
It seems a bit odd to say he got a really good start, which dropped him 7 places.
Oh yeah, it was a really good start, and then bad things happened.
But after the first 50 metres, it stopped being a really good start.
Yeah, it was a shame as well because I think he had a really good lap in qualifying because Sainz battered him through practice. I don't think he was ahead of Sainz, or possibly even like a second back on Sainz for most of the testing.
Pretty bad, wasn't
Saturday came around and he was faster. So I don't think there's anything. The only thing to worry about for Lando at the moment is he needs to get on top of Sainz just in case there's a Alonso-shaped cloud comes back towards McLaren.
Yeah, but don't forget, according to you, he's going to Ferrari, Renault, Red Bull.
Mark Chenet reckons he's come back to Formula 1 in 2020. He reckons he's almost got a deal done to go back to Ferrari would be very difficult, but he thinks he's going back next year.
Mark Chenet thinks Alonso is, or Mark Chenet thinks Mark Chenet is?
Mark Chenet does not think he is going back to Formula 1. But he did turn around and say that Toyota offered Alonso a big money deal to stay with Toyota, and there's no way that Alonso has something in mind if he needed the freedom. So, and that's got to be more than Dakar.
It's one of the few he hasn't done, though, is it, Dakar?
Well, it could be IndyCar if he wants to drive for a Honda engine team.
I don't think he's got any
Formula
intention.
1 does sound.
I don't think he's got any intention in doing a full season for IndyCar. I don't think any intention at all. I think there's a lot of Formula One drivers wouldn't admit it in front of a camera, apart from our Lord and Saviour Jenson Button, but that it's far too dangerous. I think there's a lot of Formula One drivers. When you consider the safety standards that Formula One has, they look across the pond at that fucking craziness and go, "Not me, mate."
I think IndyCar is getting a lot safer.
It is getting a lot safer,
they've done a lot of work.
But there is still every opportunity that someone can die in one of those races. Every single opportunity. Just because when you've got so many cars going so fast, I don't think you can ever make that car that's completely safe. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean they've cut down on the number of oval races that they have, and they're now going to be using the debris deflectors from the Indy 500.
Yeah, but you have a couple of cars smash your car into about 3 pieces. Then it doesn't matter how many debris deflectors you've got. You become bits of the debris.
I mean, that's basically what happened with the Robert Wickens crash, isn't it? There was a multi-pile of cars, and he kind of flew over the top and ended up in a fence.
Yeah.
I think they are designed to take off, or the aero was certainly. I think they've changed it since then. But I mean, we'll talk more about Indy next week because
is it 500 next week?
It's a week on Sunday,
right?
So next week we'll be previewing Monaco and the 500 as well.
So is it a test? Have they got another test, or is it qualifying next week?
It's testing and qualifying practically every day from now until a week on Saturday.
Right. Okay.
They basically just spend a month there, don't they?
Yeah. Qualifying is Saturday night, which I think Sky are actually showing live on the F1 channel as well.
Yeah.
And then there's a week of extra testing preparation.
Well, they've done the whole season this year, haven't they? F1 channel.
Yeah, we're watching it on Saturday because we're on the road course.
I keep meaning to put on to a series link it, and I keep forgetting.
That was a good race Saturday.
It was all right. Yeah, it was good.
Apparently, the end was amazing.
It was wet, and people were on all sorts of tyres. It was awesome.
Yeah, there was all 3 different tyre compounds out there, wet and both dries, and people were making up God knows how many seconds a lap and overtakes and everything. It was like proper motor racing.
Like a race.
Yeah, it was good.
Jesus.
They were astonished, weren't they, that Simon Pagenaud actually managed to do an overtake despite not having any of the push to pass, as they call it. It's like, he's actually done an overtake.
See that racing driver? He's doing some racing.
Just radios into his engineers. I've got this crazy idea. So, what are you going to do? He said, well, I'm gonna drive behind him, and then when we go into the corner, I'm gonna brake a little bit later than him.
Scandalous.
It does work. Talking of teams that are used to braking into corners whilst turning left,
and Americans, yeah.
Ooh,
Kevin Magnussen is the dirtiest driver in Formula One.
And Kevin Magnussen is what?
The dirtiest driver in Formula One.
Go say that to his face, and he will tell you to suck his balls.
And I might suck his balls.
He's going to call his bluff.
I mean, Gunther Steiner had to sit them both down after the race and give them a 15-minute dressing down and try and tell them not to kill each other.
Yeah, I mean, at this rate, neither of them are going to get any food at the next dinner. But that was crazy. I think it was so... He ran him off the track.
Twice.
It's his teammate, and they've had a rubbish car for the beginning of the race, or at least a good qualifying car that they haven't been able to maximise. The team desperately needs some points. And Kevin Magnussen he might as well just write K-Mag over the ass on his car and goes into business for himself.
I mean, did you hear the team radio at the end? Gunther Steiner came on and spoke to both drivers.
No.
First he talked to K-Mag and said, first person you come and see when you get out the car is me. Then he got on the radio to Grosjean. And how many times was it he said, calm down?
It was very sort of babysitting, wasn't it? Like, just stay calm, don't say anything, don't do anything, stay calm, come to me.
Yeah. Drive in slowly, don't do anything.
Gunther Steiner is my favourite.
He's awesome.
Team boss.
Yeah, they managed to look like both rock stars and wankers this weekend.
It's just weird, isn't it? I don't get it.
I fear for that relationship if they end up like your Ocon and your Perez,
because they're crashy.
Yeah, if they go that way, someone is gonna end up upside down in a tire wall.
It's gonna be like Nasser and Ericsson.
It's gonna be fucking Highlander rules. Is where it is.
I mean, for once, it might not actually be Grosjean driving into the back of someone.
No, well, that crash wasn't his fault. He was trying to overtake somebody. He deserved room. and he got run off the road.
And then for it to happen twice, and then that completely knackered up the car.
And then he forgot where the white lines were on the track. Because he shouldn't have. I think he should have had to give that place to Sainz a couple of times.
I thought he should have done.
Yeah, because I know he stayed within the cone and stuff, but he kept that place. He ran off the road.
He was just so used to doing it.
What do you mean that's not the racing line? Yeah, I mean, where do Haas go from here apart from couples therapy?
They need two new drivers. I'm still convinced they need two new drivers because Kevin Magnussen on his day looks like a Formula One driver. Roman Grosjean looks like a really good Formula One driver for 10 minutes and then drives clean into a wall. It's that team is better than those drivers. Remember, like we used to speak about Williams, but we used to say, "Well, I wonder how good that car is." Right? It's the same with Haas now. They're probably the fourth best team on the grid.
Until somebody sits in it.
No, until one of their drivers sits in it. And more importantly, until one of the drivers sits in and somebody turns it on.
I mean, I think everybody that was in the Kevin Magnussen stand would disagree
whole
with you.
stand.
We used to see in the Max Verstappen stand, but Danish corner?
Yeah, bizarre to see that there was that much travelling support for the K-Mag.
Maybe they made it themselves. Maybe he looked really, really closely at Lego.
No, they were like proper. There is a picture on the Three Legs Four Wheels website in the quotes article. I think it's the picture of Danny Kvyat where you can see the K-Mag stand in the background, and it's some serious stuff.
Do you know how Formula One have been doing the CGI stuff?
You reckon I thought, let's take the piss out of poor Kevin. Let's make it look like people like him.
Conspiracy theory. There's a new Lego movie out, isn't there?
Do you know what? I had an argument on Twitter the other day with the Stroll fan.
What, the one Stroll fan?
The Stroll fan that thinks he's a potential world champion. And when I turned around and said how he was a bit crashy, he said, "Yeah, well, Sainz has crashed." And
everyone's crashed.
Verstappen's crashed. I was like, yeah, but like he's got previous. He's got previous for being crashy. And he's got previous for being really slow.
And I'm pretty sure Verstappen will get a chance of a world championship at some point. And the first one or two, he's going to miss out on because of being crashy.
The only reason Stroll's going to get a world championship is if his dad sets up Formula Stroll and he drives, and you get a point for crashing. Even then, it'll be a close. It'll go down to the wire.
I actually just had to remind myself which team we were talking about.
I mean, what happens if the first other entrant in Formula Stroll's Grosjean?
That's what the prophecies have warned us about.
Pastor Maldonado was driver steward.
Oh.
In the pit lane, they both end up pulling half an amulet out each.
Right, on to Red Bull next. Verstappen in third.
Cracking race.
Benefited from Vettel's crappy start, and then benefited from Ferrari's crappy race.
Do you think Ferrari had the car to beat Red Bull this weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
That Red Bull should not have been on the podium.
He should have been behind both of them.
Yeah.
But Max made the most of the start when Vettel locked up, going into the sort of halfway between turn 1 and turn 2, and then just never let him back in. What Max is turning into is somebody who is good at finding himself a large gap in between two cars. He was never going to catch the Mercedes, nowhere near fast enough. But with the way that Ferrari are running things, he knew that he could string out a 6-second gap ahead of the Ferraris while they were doing all the infighting and just keep it there. And I think Crofty said at one point he's driving the loneliest race out there.
Yeah. What I do find interesting about it is with Ferrari saying that their updates just didn't work on the car that they brought. Obviously, Monaco's an anomaly next, so we won't really know where everyone lies when we get there. But the next race, we might find Red Bull on par with Ferrari. They might be joint second best team, for instance.
I would be surprised because they're still like half a second down on them, aren't they? Even
in
though
in qualifying,
all through qualifying, practice, the race sims.
They are
They are slower than the Ferrari. They should not. Well, Verstappen should not be in third.
No, you're probably right.
I mean,
right.
Red Bull's natural position at the moment is 5th and 6th.
Yeah.
So Gasly is going to the script.
I don't know. I mean, you've got to think that it's Kevin Magnussen that's doing what the car's capable of. Not Kevin Magnussen.
Kevin Magnussen's doing what
You know
the car's
what I mean?
capable of? What,
Sorry.
ramming into his teammate?
Yeah. No, well, yeah, he is, but he's doing what he's capable of. No, you've got to think that Verstappen's doing what the car's capable of, and like Gasly isn't quite doing what it's capable of.
I don't know. I mean, if
Gasly had, I can't remember whether it was front wing damage or he got something stuck in the front wing, but it was why he didn't have
he picked
pace.
rubber up.
He picked something up, and
there was,
But he
he
didn't-
said there was debris stuck in there, and he lost a lot of downforce at the front.
But doesn't every Formula One car have that problem? Because it was rubber. He said he picked rubber up in his front wing. I don't know. I don't know why his wing would pick up more rubber than the other.
It depends where it gets
I think it might be like
lodged,
Bottas's clutch. That, to be fair.
Possibly because he was right behind Vettel when he locked up and shedded half his tyre, and it just landed in Gasly's front wing.
Maybe, but I'm still thinking because of where he was in qualifying and where he usually is to Verstappen, he's usually where he is.
Perhaps he always catches some rubber in his front wing.
Maybe he's following Vettel too much because he's the expert at locking up this year. Although he did keep the car facing the right way this time.
He did keep the car
well
facing
done,
this.
Seb. Right, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Mercedes. Oh, hang on, we missed the Ferrari strategy. I got the list wrong again.
Yeah.
What are they fucking playing?
Don't
at?
know. It's
we
crazy.
we can make this a pretty short discussion, can't we? Was their strategy shit?
Yes.
Right? Mercedes.
But what are they doing? That's what I want to know. It's like they've forgotten how to go racing.
From various people on Twitter, actually people connected with F1 and F1 broadcasting and teams that get full access to all the radio.
Yeah.
Apparently the Ferrari radio was the most panicked sounding team communications that a lot of people had heard at a Grand Prix in years.
Has anyone noticed we didn't hear any Ferrari radio through most of the race?
I don't think it was actually broadcastable. It had just been one long series of bleeps.
I don't think it was that. I think it was the case of someone in Ferrari's turned around and said, this is an absolute shit show, and told the broadcaster, do not put our stuff out.
It could be
That
that they were.
doesn't normally stop the broadcaster, though.
I think Ferrari have got the clout to make them do whatever they fucking want.
Or every other word was a different brand of beer that wasn't Heineken, so they weren't allowed to broadcast it.
Or they could have been speaking in Italian.
That
They
is
do
the-
only,
that is-
generally speaking, they do
Yeah.
only broadcast English language radio.
so it was Peroni, Seb, come in.
But Seb only speaks a few words of Italian, doesn't he? He's not.
Grazie ragazzi, grazie mille.
Yeah,
That's
he's,
it, yeah.
he's not too bad.
Woo, 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 woo.
But
I think that's international. I don't think that's specifically Italian.
Was the Crazy Frog Italian as well? Because I remember him
No,
doing
I
that
think, was
once.
he not German?
right, do they need to number one of them?
No, they need to have the confidence in the strategy decisions that when you've got two drivers close together, the drivers need to trust the strategist, and the strategist needs to say, right, let him pass now,
Yeah.
and make the decision not in 5 laps, but
No.
see that they're catching up and have the decision made before they catch. Keeping Vettel on the softer tyres behind Leclerc on the hard tyres was stupid.
Keeping Vettel out when he had a flat tyre on
And was
one
begging
of
to come in.
Yeah, the whole
that was
Stupid.
ridiculous.
the whole please let me pit. I mean that he is far more experienced than a lot of people probably running the team. He will know when that tyre's finished.
I also think that every team apart from Ferrari knew it was going to be a 2-stop race, because even did you notice when Lando was on his did his pit walk, and Lando was grabbed on the grid walk by Martin Brundle. Martin Brundle said, "What's it like out there?" after his lap to the pits, a lap to the grid, and he said, "Oh, it's hotter." He said it's more difficult now. It might make the race a bit more interesting. So he knew, you could tell by the way he was speaking, that from that lap round, he knew it was going to be a 2-stop race. And I think there was never anyone out. You never got that radio communication saying, "Oh, we're running these till the end," and the driver come back saying, "Oh, I don't really think this is going to work." it seemed like most of the teams knew they were going to have to two-stop it, with or without a safety car. Whereas Ferrari just didn't seem to fucking know what was going on.
Well, Pirelli put the usual expected tyre lives out before the race, and they said that it was only really going to be a one-stopper for anyone that was starting on mediums or hards. So obviously Ferrari would have had that information. Did they just completely ignore it? Because they were saying it was going to be. It was around about 29 to 32 laps, depending if you're on a medium or hard tyre, for a one-stopper. But then you went to the other medium or hard and you just completely ignored the softs. If you were using softs at any time during the race, the two-stopper was the fastest strategy.
Do we think Binotto's out of his league?
I don't know. Because
this is all these calls fall on him. I know we talk about the strategists, but the strategist will go to him and he will have the final say.
I think what's probably going on is Ferrari politics. And maybe he is out of his league or doesn't have the confidence to say, shut up with your arguing and get on with what I say.
Yeah.
It's the same people.
I don't think he's out of his league because what he's doing is a massive job. He's changing the team culture. If you look at how much more open they are to interviews and things like that.
Is he? Well, because let's not forget, Dominicali did that as well. It's not like they haven't been there.
Yeah.
But he's still got the same people working under him that Arriva Bene had working under him. And if they've got a certain attitude and a certain mindset...
But they were probably the same people that was working under Dominicali as well.
But they're the ones that are controlling the fate of their boss. And it's still, they might have got the new team principal in, but it's still going to be... If it's still a toxic environment underneath him, where everybody is building their own little empires...
And I'm sure there's a massive fight between the two sides of the garages.
But let's not forget, right, that Ferrari didn't fuck up last year's championship because Ferrari fucked it up. Ferrari didn't win a championship last year because Vettel wasn't good enough to beat Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Last year they had the car, they had the team. It's not like they've had this team falling apart now for years. This is new. This is a new chaos.
I think there were two things happened last year. There was Vettel falling apart.
Yeah.
And Arriva Bene dying.
Not Arriva Bene.
Marchione dying, sorry. And it was when those two things happened, the team just lost it. And I think Marchione dying has had a big effect on them.
I don't think they should have got rid of Arriva Bene.
I would agree with that.
I think he seemed to have, although we were sceptical when he first came in, weren't we? That they've got a cigarette salesman to run their Formula One team. He seemed to have it under control, and when the relationship he had with the drivers as well, he seemed a similar figure to a Gunther Steiner, I think, with the drivers, and it just seems strange. Like they purposely went out of their way to make it look like they're not picking a number one driver when Seb was behind Leclerc. But they just fucked both their drivers over in that race.
I mean, they held Leclerc behind Vettel for too long, which screwed up his tyres. When they finally got right to letting him past, Leclerc's tyres were practically finished for getting any decent race pace.
Yeah.
And then he was only pulling away, at best, about 0.4 per lap.
But that decision you can understand because he was on... I think Martin Brundle said a couple of races ago he'd been... behind Vettel and saying I'm faster, but it was only faster because he had the DRS from being behind Vettel. The decision where they kept Leclerc in front when they were on different tyres and a different strategy, that's the one that they really should have just said, you're on a different strategy, move over, let him through.
I think Leclerc was...
You said this on Sunday when it was happening.
Yeah.
I think Leclerc was out of order for where he eventually let Vettel past. Because even when Vettel let Leclerc past, he did it on the main straight like you should do.
Yeah.
Whereas it was the
a couple of corners
twisty bit
after,
before,
wasn't it?
Or was it a couple of corners after or towards the back?
I think it was
back
after
of
the straight.
circuit?
Yeah.
I can't remember. But it's just it's not right. But what I do wonder is, Leclerc might very well in a few years' time, or next year even, be a championship contender. Yeah. Even if you number one Leclerc right now, Leclerc is just seems to be on a level, and I think he's probably slightly under. If everything being equal, underneath Vettel, like in performance.
Yeah.
So neither of those drivers, if we don't think Vettel's good enough to beat Hamilton with a car that's better than Hamilton's for most of the season, why the fuck do we think Leclerc can beat him if they seem to be on the same sort of pace?
I think
They need another driver. They need a number one driver in that team.
I think the only thing that stopped Vettel beating Hamilton last year
It was Vettel.
was Vettel's head.
I don't think. Yeah, but I think he lost his head because I don't think he was quick enough.
I think he could have been. It was that race in Germany where he went off for no reason.
Yeah.
That his head just fell apart. But if he'd kept that together, he could have had the pace to
I don't know. I think
pick up more points.
I think in Hamilton, I can't think of another, because I think we'll see it take off now anyway. But I can't think of another driver that's been quite as relentless as him. You know, it's we look at Lewis Hamilton as having as it being an anomaly, if it's like the beginning of his season, and he's not been quite on par. Yet he went into Spain 1 point behind his teammate in second place in the World Championship, and that's a bad start to the year. And that's how he's doing this. He's being relentless, and especially towards the back end of a season, he can just bang wins out. And I don't think there's another driver on the track that can do that. There's another one that's doing Indy in a couple of weeks.
And I'm sure you'd say give Lando the car and he would as well.
Not yet. No, I'm not daft.
And there's somebody in Super GT that might do it too.
I think there's somebody in Super GT that could do better than a couple of the drivers on the grid, definitely. I was amazed did you see the build-up thing that Jensen did? When he said before Braun was saved, he was in talks to go to Toro Rosso. I couldn't have handled Button going through the meat grinder. I mentally couldn't have handled it.
Was it the full-on meat grinder at that point?
Well, it was the beginning. They were just getting the motor running, because that was it. 2009. That was the first Webber Vettel year.
Yes, yeah. The first
So,
the Braun
and
year
then
was the
so you
Vettel
had
year.
a solid team there for what, 5 years. So yeah, he'd have been well meat grinded.
He'd have been Buemi or Alguersuari or one of that lot.
Oh, God. Lee would still be sobbing about it now.
Oh no, I'd be in a padded room somewhere.
You already are? Oh, no, the sort of Indian-style blankets, aren't
Yeah.
they? Right, okay. Right, Mercedes. Faster in qualifying by over 6/10. Hamilton's qualifying lap was an anomaly because he got slowed down and couldn't charge his battery up enough, which is why he was slower. But if he'd have beaten Bottas to pole, well, there was still no other car within 6/10 of a Mercedes.
No.
Are they on course to be 1988 McLaren?
Very, very possibly, because I think the races where they've looked vulnerable, they've won.
Yeah, the races where they've been vulnerable, other people have thrown it away and they've locked into the wins.
The only reason Ferrari might come back at them is because they're still quite by far the quickest in a straight line. So Ferrari, cross your fingers for Monza, people. So, maybe a Spa or a Monza or something like that, they might come more under threat. But you'd think by the time those races come up, because they're a bit later in the season, that wherever this drag problem is with the car, they might have sorted out.
Well, that's going to be the thing, because I mean, the two big races where you need the massive amounts of straight line speed come late on, and there's going to be a hell of a lot of development time between now and then, and usually new things come in at the end of the summer break. All right, they're not allowed to work on.
And Mercedes are the team that you could fully expect having a Monza spec aero package. They've got the resources for it.
Nailed on. Absolutely nailed on.
Engine components and things like that start coming into play at that point of the season as well. So even if the Ferrari happens to be fastest, they could have a grid penalty or anything
still
like
Hamilton's
that.
still the only person, I think. I don't know about Bottas. I think Bottas might have used one, or maybe not.
The two Mercedes, the two Racing Points and Kubica going into where were we? Spain. They were all still on first component across the board.
Right, so it's... So
all the Mercedes-powered ones. Russell's had a couple of new bits.
Yeah.
Well, Russell had to have new bits when the
Azerbaijan.
But the more important thing about the other ones that people don't care about is the fact that the Red Bull and Ferrari have already used components that they haven't.
Toro Rosso have already used all three. What do you call them? I've forgotten the words. Power units.
That's because on everything Toro Rosso put in their car, it's got like Honda power unit beta.
Yeah, I mean Ferrari actually brought the engine upgrade in 2 races early.
Yeah,
you know this what they used this weekend was meant to be brought in Canada, and Haas and Alfa Romeo didn't even actually get to use it this time.
No, which was supposed to be illegal, I believe.
No, both teams chose not to use it.
Oh, right,
yeah,
okay.
I think you have to offer it.
Yeah, Ferrari offered it, and the other 2 teams didn't want. I think what they actually did was offer it to them on Wednesday before they had a chance to check to see if it fit.
I think what happened is Ferrari went around and said, "You don't want this, lads, all right?"
I mean, Alpha definitely are running out of control electronics because they were the main ones that's the main part in the Ferrari engine that's gone wrong.
Oh, it's so bad, isn't it? It's the fact that we're in Spain and we're getting towards penalties probably. For people.
Giovinazzi ran out of control electronics last race, didn't
it's all right.
he?
He's going to run out of drive soon.
One thing I did notice though was Hülkenberg did a complete power unit swap, and he's now on his 4th.
Wow.
Shit.
But that was for tactical reasons because he was already starting from the pit lane.
Yeah.
So it's brought another one into the pool,
Cool.
and he didn't actually lose anything.
Odd that McLaren seem to be having better reliability than like the Renault home team, isn't it?
Well, apart from Sainz going through MG UK's like they're going out of fashion.
Oh, is he?
Well, that's what burst into flames for him before.
Is it? Did he have 2 retirements?
He had 2 retirements because of an MG
okay.
UK. There was Australia where he was on fire?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
And
that.
then it went in China as well. So he's on the limit for.
Old Lando might be in luck then for going forward because that's what this Renault update was supposed to be for, wasn't it? Was for reliability. I think the one of the Renault guys had told Sky that either told Sky or they'd told the Formula One channel that they'd rushed performance parts through for the beginning of the year, and that the next update was for reliability to sort those out. So if Lando's not used any of those bits, then he's or less of those bits, he might be looking pretty good later on.
So heroes and villains then. I'm nominating K-Mag as villain.
I think it's a close call between him and Ferrari.
Yeah, Ferrari strategy might be
I don't know. Ferrari
villain.
strategy is down as my moron of the week.
I think Ferrari just as a team, they've done the wrong thing bringing Leclerc into the team. You know, they should have left him in. They should have left him in Alfa Romeo for 1 more year, given because with them having a new team boss as well.
Yeah,
given Vettel his wingman like he's had because they work well together.
Yeah.
And then seeing if they could, especially when you look at the car they had at the beginning of the year, seeing if they could have took it to Mercedes this time. And also said to Vettel at the beginning of the year, this is your last chance. You know, if you don't start doing the job for us now, we're going to start looking around for someone that can.
Yeah. How about heroes?
Can I nominate another villain?
You
Yes.
The last 60 laps of the race.
Oh,
Do you know what? There's a funny thing. I meant to say this before. Wait, what race can you remember where a fucking safety car restart did absolutely nothing for it? The only person celebrating is Sainz.
Saturday's Indy GP after the first safety car restart where somebody went straight off and the safety car stayed out.
Okay, Paul. Which professional series motor race do you remember?
There's got to have been a Monaco that happened sometime.
Yeah, probably.
Right, predictions. How did we do?
Badly.
non-great.
Absolutely.
Well, you can say that. We'll start with people that aren't here. Chris went for a Hamilton win, Verstappen second and Bottas third. That got him 5 points.
Well done, Chris.
Guest predictor Michael Cohen. He might have been listening to us for ages, but he obviously wasn't listening when it came to predictions because he went for a Bottas win, Hamilton second, Leclerc third. 2 points. Sean, you said a Hamilton win, Leclerc second, Bottas third, 4 points. Dan, yours was a Bottas win, Hamilton second, Verstappen third, almost. Five pointer. Lee.
Not good.
A Vettel win, Hamilton second, Leclerc third, 1 point.
1 point. Oh, I got a point.
You got a point.
Yeah.
You were as good as Grosjean.
I couldn't remember whether I had Hamilton on the podium or not.
And saving the best till last, full house.
Good
I
man.
had a Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, 1, 2, 3. So
You must be reasonably a good chunk ahead now.
I am an entire race ahead of you. I am Mercedes.
Is this season going to be predicted on who can guess which Mercedes is going to win the race?
From the looks of things, yeah. Well, seeing as we've had 5 Mercedes 1-2 finishes so far.
Monaco's going to be an awkward one because you always feel like it's the race Hamilton should do really well at, but he hasn't got the best record of Monaco, does he?
No, he's a bit average by his standards.
I think it's the fact that he really, with the Senna connection, he really wants to be good at Monaco in the same way as Damon Hill really wanted to win Monaco.
Like my dad's done it 3 times. Why can't I? Well, we've got that coming up in 2 weeks. Really looking forward to that one.
As long as it's good, like a good Monaco is a great race. A boring Monaco is the worst race in the world.
Wet Monaco. That's what we need, I think.
Yeah.
Or 2009 Monaco. That was the best Monaco.
What was the 97 was a good one.
What was that? What happened there?
Olivier Panis.
Yes.
Oh yeah, chaos.
Absolute carnage. And Mika Salo managing to get in the points without even pitting. Obviously, you can't do that these days. I think they ran out of time as well.
Was that the year when Panis had his massive accident in Australia?
No, it was Canada.
Was it Canada, was it?
Yeah.
I remember there being something, because I remember it being plastered all over the papers with him in his boxer shorts getting worked on, wasn't it? It was really weird.
Yeah, he had stuck it into the wall in Canada after he'd won Monaco, and I think they were fairly close together. I don't think they were next to each other like they are in the calendar now, but because they were talking about him as a potential world champion after winning Monaco, where barely anyone finished.
Whoops.
Yeah. Commentators curse.
Canada's the first of my favourite races of the year. I love Canada.
Yeah, got to admit, I'm a fan of that one.
Normally throws up a good race, except when we predict it's going to be.
Yeah, last year we were hyping it up a bit, and then I seem to recall it was fairly.
Moving on, I think there is some newsy stuff happening. Was anybody else surprised by Mercedes just announcing that Dieter Zetsche was retiring? Just saved it until Sunday.
I thought there was mentions of this in the last race.
I missed that.
It was news to me.
Because when they said he was retiring, I knew about it when they said it. So
maybe you've just had like a psychic dream or
maybe.
something.
But no, I'm sure there was mentions of it. This is one of the reasons I think Toto Wolff's going to leave.
Yeah, because he is being linked with Chase Carey's job. He has said that he's fully committed to Mercedes, so that could be an official denial.
Once something's been officially denied, it's usually definitely going to happen.
What exactly did he say? Did he say he was fully committed to the Mercedes Formula One team, or to Mercedes?
They are different things.
Let me have a look.
Because Mercedes are only top of the world in Formula One because of the amount of money that Dieter Zetsche has let them pour into it.
I think he said he's fully committed to Mercedes through 2020. I'm sure there was a year on it.
Formula One or just Mercedes?
I don't know.
Because Dieter Zetsche's replacement isn't as into petrol engine cars as Dieter Zetsche, is he?
No, the new guy that got in, Ola, I can't remember his surname, is a big advocate of going all electric as soon as possible.
What with Mercedes entering Formula E next year?
Yeah.
Well, what might be another piece of this puzzle is the little nugget that came out this weekend too, that Toto Wolff said that when they were discussing Hamilton's contract, the last contract sign he had, it came up the draw of Hamilton going to Ferrari. So that seems like a weird thing to throw out there as well. Now, if inside the team they know that the budget's going to start getting pulled back from Mercedes a bit, Toto Wolff is looking to in line to become something else in Formula One.
Possibly in the Formula One organisation, or Ferrari have had the same team principal for nearly 6 months now.
It's all feeling a little bit Schumacher Ferrari, isn't it? Where the dream team sort of started to fall apart.
I mean, the main thing about the sort of Chase Carey role is he was only meant to be CEO of Formula One for 3 years, but he's agreed to stay on for an extra year.
I tell you what,
he was meant to go at the end of this season, but he's staying on to ease the transition into the new 2021 regulations.
But I know,
which we still don't know when they're going to come in.
I know he's clearly a man that's in that position, that's been in business for as long as he has. He's probably been in some pretty high pressure situations, but he looks visibly ill when you see him. When he first came into Formula One, he was this sort of quite big American guy. You look at him now; he's really gaunt. He's lost a ton of weight somewhere, and you just wonder whether is it just an age thing? Is it the pressure of running an entire motorsport like Formula One?
Though he used to run ESPN, didn't he?
Oh no, that's what I mean. I'm sure he's been in high pressure situations, but I think that the difference with running ESPN might be the fact that when you tell people to do something, they do them. You don't have to negotiate with all the workers about how you're going to run your company.
There's a difference if you're in a high pressure environment and it goes your way.
Yeah.
If in Formula One, maybe he's getting, like you say, a bit more resistance. That might take the toll.
I suppose there's more conflicting interests in Formula One than there are in television.
Well, you can't talk to anyone, I'd imagine. If you're in that position, you want honest advice about what you're supposed to do. Everyone's honest advice is going to be completely honest for their team.
Yeah.
Where do you go apart from Ross Brawn? Obviously,
you can't exactly phone Bernie up and expect him to tell you what he wants.
I do think someone like Toto would be ideal. I tell you what, who'll be fucking ragging is Christian Horner. All he needed was Bernie to stick it out for another couple of years, or die instantly. One of the two.
Bernie will never die. He's more machine than man.
Politically, I don't see Toto going into a Formula One role without a good few years away from the sport. Can you imagine Christian Horner's reaction to Toto Wolff taking a year's gardening leave and then? You might get
Christian Horner's thing, but why should Formula One or Toto Wolff give a fuck about Christian Horner's opinion?
Well, I mean, look at all the kick-off when I can't remember his name, but he left Renault to join the senior management in the FIA.
Well, look at the.
No, that was the other way around.
Look at FIA to Renault.
That was the
didn't
concern.
Jean Todt go from Ferrari to head of the FIA?
That is true.
So I don't think it matters. Hasn't helped.
Yeah, it's an odd one, but I'm with you on this, Dan. I just don't. There'll be out and out rebellion without a break.
I don't know. I don't know about that. It depends how the other team bosses feel about Toto Wolff, and the thing is.
Well, Racing Point and Williams would be fine with
it. He'd have to. He owns a 30% share, doesn't he, in Formula One, in the Formula One team?
Yeah,
Toto Wolff.
Yeah, he's got 30%. Lauda's got 10.
Yeah, so I take it you'd have to give up his 30%.
We'll look after it for him.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Daimler have got a buyback option.
Yeah.
That if he leaves the team, they buy his shares off him immediately.
I don't know if that's unfortunate.
No, unfortunate for us. We can't.
Oh, right,
we can't borrow
That doesn't
them.
mean they wouldn't buy it back and then look for a new investor.
Yeah, we could.
Patrons, do your stuff.
Don't know whether we have the capital.
I've just had an email. Hi, I am Toto Wolff of the Mercedes Formula One team. I would like you to look after $20,000 million worth of shares for me.
You've also just had another email from your fiancé saying, "Don't spend any money ever."
Yeah, I think what would be nice for Toto if he did it is these jobs always tend to be filled by people that I think are too old for them. In the same way as I really hope Ross Brawn's doing a good job, but Ross Brawn is at that age where you can't bank on him being around to do that job for a massive amount of time.
Yeah.
Whereas, how old's Toto? About 52, something like that.
I think he's only in his 40s.
Is he only
I think
he's a bit
he's
younger,
a couple of years younger than me.
All right, okay, cool.
What have you been doing with your life, Paul?
Not running Mercedes.
Don't forget that he is tall and we do die younger.
But Toto Wolff is 47.
All right, okay.
There you go.
Good
Exactly
call.
a couple of years younger than me.
2 years and 2 days.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I can see it, and you think of the financial incentive to do that too. Also, you've got it's a job. It's a job for life if you want it to be.
Yeah.
So I can see him.
Well, no, because what Liberty / F1 have said is the chief exec will be a hired position on a fixed term contract, and they will change bosses every 3 years.
Isn't Jean Todt the boss of the FIA on a
3
years?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they've now put in a 2-term maximum on the FIA president.
Yeah,
Or is
but that was already there. Jean Todt got voted back in because nobody stood against him.
But this is his last term, at least.
Yeah, but only because he doesn't
someone
want
else
one.
still has to stand.
Yeah. So no, but that rule was already in place when he got voted in again.
We're all screwed.
So it's that I don't think stuff like that matters.
Yeah, apparently they're going to go to FIFA for advice.
Yeah.
Oh God, Sepp Blatter in charge of Formula
Ooh.
1.
But we'd rather somebody that's already involved in Formula 1, surely.
I think Alex Wirtz has said he would want to replace Jean Todt.
friend
has
of
he
the
not?
show, Scarbs, as well. He's voiced his liking of the way Alex Wirtz and the cut of his said jib.
I don't think that would be a bad move.
I don't know because I don't know Alex Wirtz. These guys are talking to them behind the scenes. I know what Toto Wolff says, so I'd always.
You know what he says publicly, and you've seen his desk.
Yes, I've seen his desk. So I don't know. I like Toto Wolff. I think he's been a really good team boss in Formula 1, and he seems to have the right attitude with the way the teams run, especially the way he lets his drivers go with each other. So I think he'd be a good guy. I think other bosses would respect him as well, and that might be one of the big keys here.
Some would, but like you say, Horner, whoever's in charge of Ferrari that week.
I almost think Ferrari are getting to the point where they don't have the clout that they used to have.
Well, I've noticed that Ferrari have thrown up another sticking point in 2021 because F1 want to get rid of the Ferrari veto. Ferrari are trying to veto that decision.
Yeah. They have to get rid of that. That you can't have a team that can say no to a rule when everyone else can't do it. It's fucking ridiculous. And it's just Bernie Ecclestone bollocks. In the same way that we can't watch the Formula 1 channel in the UK. Bernie Ecclestone bollocks.
The UK can, it's just the Isle of Man that can't.
Yeah, they don't recognise us. As
No.
country.
F1 TV now does work over here.
Yeah.
We can't get the live stuff, we just get the highlights.
Yeah. I did look into that, and then I realised the cost for what you actually get, and fuck off.
Yeah, we all stick with Sky because we're all dead legal and everything. Right, next big story, which could be Tuesday news this week, because the announcement is apparently due at any time that Zandvoort is going to be confirmed to take over Spain's slot as the first European race of the season.
I think it's confirmed, or just before you came round.
No,
It's been announced that it's probably going to be confirmed.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's everyone seems to be talking about it like it's definitely happening, but an official unveiling.
And we
is
think that's
expected
going to take over
tomorrow.
from Spain.
It will take the Spain slot.
I hope
Whether or
they
not
still-
Spain is gonna.
I hope they still test in Spain, because I've always thought it was weird testing at a race that you race at.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and it's probably doesn't hurt. It doesn't. It's probably one of the reasons why that race was boring. Because there's so much information gathered about it.
Yeah. I mean, Jerez is still available for testing.
Yeah.
That only seems to get used for that's a bike circuit these days. But
Yeah. Well, I think that
GP2 and GP3 had a standalone meeting there a couple of years ago.
But there's too many gravel traps there these days for Formula 1 cars, isn't there?
Probably because the bikes are big
Yeah.
into the gravel traps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't care. I mean, I'm one of those people. There's only like a few races that I really, really hope don't go away. I won't cry to see Spain go and us get something new.
As long as it gets replaced with something that's actually a quality circuit and you get a decent race at it. And from a selfish point of view, in Europe at a decent hour, so you don't have to get up at 3 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, I hope seeing fucking Max's army at a home circuit would be a sight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is going to be nuts,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, that would be the most orange that you've seen since, well, the night out in Douglas.
You could have gone a different way with that joke, and I'd have laughed heartily. Marches and such.
No, they're going to hold the race in May.
Oh, just Jesus Christ!
Yeah, I'm avoiding that one. I've got a theory why, and I'll tell you when we're not recording.
Right.
But yeah, apparently the official announcement is going to take place at some point this week. But the head of the Circuit de Catalunya says that he's 90% complete on a deal with F1 to keep the Barcelona race on the calendar at a different point of the year.
Oh well. Sainz did say that there was no chance in an interview that weekend. So I think there might just be a bit of politic in there from the circuit owner.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely one race coming off the calendar at the end of this year because they're committed to only 21 races in 2020. It's 2021 when they can expand up to 25.
I think they can expand if all the teams agree, don't they?
But the teams have actually voted for only 21 next year.
No, that's what I mean. But if another race comes up, they can vote on whether they do it or not. They're not tied. They're not married to that.
No, Ferrari
decision.
have said they only want 21, so that's all that's going to happen.
We'll see. Might be a Imola.
So, yeah, there is a race coming off because Vietnam's coming in next year. So if Spain does manage to strike a deal to stay on the calendar, then that means we're going to be losing another one. Obviously,
Probably Germany.
Mexico's finished this year. Germany's only got a 1-year deal. Silverstone isn't, might not be happening. It's getting resurfaced. We do know that.
Well,
much.
Mexico is going, isn't it?
Mexico's going to have to go.
Well, we've got our 2 races then. If Spain's going and Mexico's going, then it's all sorted.
There's also Brazil, which is moving to Rio
Yeah.
Although,
no.
according to
If-
Sean
if
Bratches,
the circuit gets built.
Right.
but
Yeah, but
according
that's
to
because their president's nuts.
now, according to Sean Bratches, Sao Paulo has the contract for next year already signed and sealed, and Formula One will only race in Brazil at Sao Paulo,
Right, okay.
at Interlagos.
I'd be sad to see Interlagos go. That's a good
Yeah.
circuit.
Yeah, to quote Alex Burtz again, because he now also owns a circuit design company, obviously not as big as Herman Tilke Co. He said it would be a bloody miracle to get a fully functioning circuit built within the 6 to 7 month timescale that the Brazilian president is saying.
How long did it take for India to do it? India did it in a ridiculous amount of time.
Yeah, and didn't they do a good job?
Well, it was fine
It
for
was
racing
functional,
on.
but
Yeah, the problem is with what they're planning on building in Rio is they just had some land and they built on it. Same with Austin.
Yeah.
What they'd have to do in Rio is knock down the Olympic Park.
Right. Okay. So it's demolition as well.
Yeah, which that's gonna take quite a bit of time to get sorted.
It's amazing how quick things can be done when trading standards don't care about it.
Going on all the disasters that Brazil had when they were building the Olympic and World Cup stadiums, trading standards aren't there.
That's what I mean. It's amazing what happens. It's amazing how quickly things can be done when human life doesn't matter. Have you ever seen Chinese build motorways? It's fucking crazy.
What was that? I can't remember the country it was in. The the 15-story building that went up in something like 4 days. There was a time-lapse
Jesus.
video of it.
It's crazy.
But yeah, it looks like it's going to be they're going to be at loggerheads between the Brazilian president and F1 for where the Brazilian Grand Prix is going to be held next year.
Weird.
I think that's going to be one to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Right, testing this week. Some interesting driver choices for the
Yeah.
teams. Of course, McLaren can't use Lando as a young driver anymore. Now he's done 3 races,
Yep.
more than 3 races. Alfa Romeo can't use Giovinazzi anymore. He's now not young.
Russell can't do Williams.
Russell can't do Williams, so they have got Nicholas Latifi in for both days. How much has his dad paid for that?
Nicholas Latifi. I think he's really good.
I think he's a good driver, but he will have brought a check with him.
Yeah, I think he's going to have. He's going to drive that Williams before the end of the year in a race.
Interesting.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think he's the like.
I don't know if he's actually got the points.
Yeah, he can be a Formula One driver. I'm sure he's got the points.
Should have looked this up.
I don't know that he has. I'll talk amongst yourselves.
If he hasn't, he's not far away.
I think he might have Friday points, but they might have to make a special application. I think he's got enough for an FP1.
Right.
And Nikita Mazepin is going to be in the Mercedes.
That's weird, but
Because obviously he was Force India's regular test driver.
and well,
but
they need a young driver as well. And if they haven't got a young driver on the like a Mercedes young driver program, they've got to plug someone in because it's the rules.
yeah, I think they were hoping to have Mick Schumacher this year, but then Ferrari got in there first.
I don't know. I don't even know if Mercedes would be that fussed. I don't know if anyone would be that fussed with Mick Schumacher. I see Ferrari doing it because of the it's a Ferrari decision, but Mick Schumacher just does not seem like the Formula One prospect at the moment.
He's been thoroughly average in F2.
Yeah.
You know, there's been more hype than performances.
And when I really do think there might be some stock in what your Red Bull guy said in F3, or was it European F3 they were in?
Who was this? Sorry,
it was Tickton, wasn't it?
Tickton, yeah, it was in
Did
European
Schumacher
Formula
beat
3.
him to the European F3 Championship?
Yes.
After the
at
summer
end of the
break.
season,
Yeah, and he said it's awful weird how he all of a sudden just managed to be able to get on form. It'd be interesting if he can if he do something like that in Formula 2, but there seems to be something weird. I mean, he's gonna be in Formula 1. It's Nelson Piquet Jr. made it to Formula 1, so he's gonna be there.
So by my maths, Nicholas Latifi has somewhere in the high 20s of super license points, so he's about 10 short.
Right. Okay.
He should get that this year.
Yeah, I mean, what was it, 15 to be able to do an FP1? No, it's 15 to do a test.
Yeah.
And 25 for FP1.
Yeah, by my maths, he's got 24, but unless he might have done something I don't know about.
I don't think I like this point system for drivers.
There's far too much fucking counting involved.
It's too much counting, and it's if you're good enough to be in the sport, you should be able to go in the sport. Especially if they're going to put an age bracket on it as well, so you cut it off. Like, is it 18?
It's 18 now. Yeah.
So they shouldn't need the point system in my eyes.
But they're always able to say, "Look, this guy hasn't got the points, but can he drive anyway?" Aren't they?
I don't know. Is that a thing?
Kubica has an exception for that
Yeah.
reason, because he has
okay.
been
Yeah,
before,
yeah.
because he's had one before, but obviously he doesn't have points from the last
So
however
no,
many years.
As long as there's the exception rule, it makes sense.
Oh, that's
to me.
okay. I didn't realise it was an exception rule. I do see what I don't like is that when you've got drivers out there like Dan Ticktum that seem to be a good driver that can't get into Formula One because he hasn't got enough points, but Lance Stroll has got enough points and he's able to be in Formula One and be completely under average.
Because he mysteriously won European F3.
Probably, yeah. I'm beginning to. Is that run by FIFA or the FIA? It's something that grates on me. If you're good enough to be in Formula One and a team want to hire them, you should be allowed. You know, if this same bollocks went on, they wouldn't have had Max Verstappen in when they got him in.
Well, weren't the same when they changed it round. It was because of the way that Verstappen got brought in.
I mean, he's why it's 18 plus now, because they didn't like that he was 17.
Which is really weird because he worked. I don't think it would have hurt to keep him out of Formula One for another year, but
yeah, but I mean, remember when back to 2000, Jenson Button's first season. Mm-hmm. Won British F3. Is he too young and too inexperienced for F1? Yeah. Kimi was too young when he started.
Yeah. Felipe Massa was too young too, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, he just had plenty of backing, and it got him into a Sauber, and oh shit, he can actually drive it.
Yeah.
It's bloody difficult to call. There are some drivers that are will be perfectly capable of driving an F1 car and doing well in F1 that aren't allowed to.
Yeah, I think it's more and more too. We've got. I don't know whether it's because of the whole wealth thing, where you've got so few people with so much money that can have that ability to do a Lance Stroll thing. What would you like to do, Lance? He said, Daddy, I'd like to be a racing driver. And all of a sudden, we can make you a racing driver. That's fine. So I don't know whether there's a lack of natural talent making its way up through the ranks because of these people with a massive backing behind them. I mean, that could be an issue of getting the people that deserve to be in Formula One in Formula One.
I mean, look at George Russell. He's got there completely on talent because, I mean, he said it himself to us. God, I'm name dropping, but
I know he's not got massive talent because I'm related to him.
No, he's got the talent. He didn't have the cash.
Yeah, but I meant to say backing then.
Yeah, and it was only through him being noticed.
Yeah.
And what he was doing in karting and lower formulas.
Yep.
That Mercedes
Picked
got
him
an
up.
interest in him.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, same with Lando Norris.
Same with Lewis and Jensen as well.
I don't know. Ron Dennis grew Lewis in a test tube.
Well, he met Lewis when he was very young, but you still had Lewis and his dad living in a 1-bedroom flat when he was karting. It's.
Well, didn't Lewis say that he wanted to take up karting because it was going to be better than remote controls because he wanted to drive it himself and see where he was going?
Yeah.
And he was destroying everybody in remote control cars, and he was only about 8 at the time.
Yeah. So it's I think it's harder. It must be harder for drivers now, just because Formula One does seem to be even more the Monaco kids plaything.
You look at super license and points as well. If you're not at the sharp end of a series, you need to be in sort of 2 or 3 series. So you're racing every weekend, different parts of the world. If you don't have a lot of backing, that's quite an expensive thing.
You can't do that. Yeah.
And what's the season of Formula 2? It's something like £250,000, £500,000. Is
About that.
It's about that, yeah, and it's about half that for F3, which is still you still need a hell of a lot behind you.
Should it be the price of a house in the UK?
Yeah.
Should the super license come with a test instead then? Should there be an aptitude test of reaction speeds to like a racing conduct, and then a said car in which you have to lap within a certain delta?
Now, this is what the W Series did to pick their drivers. They got like 60 of them and put them all in the same cars over a couple of days and picked the ones that tested best. Which, new series, don't know how it's going really, but
of course
the
problem is with having it on ability, there are some teams that need the mega bucks that the drivers bring in. Williams needed the Stroll money. They need the Kubica money this year,
and the Latifi
and
money,
and the Latifi money. You know, McLaren have got the Latifi's dad money behind the whole of the company. So, and of course, Red Bull took Verstappen on because Jos was going to take somebody outside and twat him if they didn't.
Yeah. Intimidation works, man. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it is. You're right. It is getting harder for the talent to come through when seats are getting bought like that. But saying that, that's always been a case because there's always been the god awful pay drivers that have come through.
Yeah. I mean, even Fernando Alonso had backing to get into Formula One. There's nothing wrong with having backing to be in. You know, all drivers have a sponsor somewhere along the lines.
I mean, look at when Damon Hill raced for Arrows. Pedro Diniz in the other car was paying Damon's salary.
Yeah, Pedro Diniz wasn't bad
that was the thing. He was
go.
Up to that point, he'd been one of the best pay drivers that was out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I was shocked when I read in F1 Racing that he was paying for his seat still at that point in Arrows. I thought he'd been taken on merit.
Yeah, crazy.
Sergio Perez comes with a lot of sponsorship.
Got his infamous backers.
Yeah.
And of course, Maldonado dropped out because the Venezuelan government changed and they ran out of money and stopped paying for him.
And his broken parts.
Yeah. Which I think ended up costing more money.
Yeah, that's the thing. He needed backing, didn't he?
I mean, another driver that's testing this week is
backing by Autofix.
Apparently, he couldn't get quicker than a quick fit fitter. Yeah, another driver that's testing this week that has run out of money before is Nick Yellerly, who is testing for Racing Point.
I had to look him up. I couldn't remember his deal, but he is currently racing in, is it the Chinese Touring Car Championship?
No, it's Chinese GT.
Chinese GT.
The famous Formula One feeder series.
I looked this up.
Chinese Touring Car was the one where the safety pickup truck took out the 2 leaders.
I had to look this up because I didn't know it was a thing. They've got 3 drivers in that series that have the gold license, and he's one of them. So he is one of the most talented drivers in this particular formula.
And I think he gets that by dint of doing 1.5 day of testing for Williams in 2016.
Yeah, something like that. he's done. I think he's done GP2 and he's done GP3 and all that.
He had a GP2 season. What else have we got? Non-F1 drivers doing the test. Antonio Fuoco testing for Ferrari.
Because he is a young driver.
He is an official young driver. One of the other Ferrari young drivers, Callum Eilert, he's going to be in the Alfa Romeo this time. I'll be interested to see how he does, because he is one of the most up and down performing drivers on the F2 grid, and was in GP3 last year.
Yeah, I still think you'll find a Schumacher in Alpha next year.
The name on the list of drivers that catches my eye, as someone who's not usually in an F1 car, is Pietro Fittipaldi for Haas, because we were talking earlier about how Haas need new drivers. There's one.
Yeah, I mean it's not his first rodeo either. He tested for them pre-season. Yeah. He actually got half a day extra where Grosjean concussed himself because he went off.
But yeah, if he's good, that creates a problem for one of the Haas incumbents.
Do they not need? Haas would need a proper lead driver though. I think as well. You know, they need an experienced head that's.
But yeah, if they can get in someone as a rookie, then they've got a bit more money available for. I imagine he comes with a bit of money as well.
I mean, would you think of K-Mag as being a number 1 driver?
No, or Grosjean.
Wouldn't call him a team leader.
No.
Nah, maybe in a call centre. It's back to the what the hell do Haas do? We're doing this more than Alonso this year.
Yeah, I think we might see it a lot more too.
Yeah. It says Pato O'Ward next on there. We touched on him a little bit because he's been signed to the Red Bull programme. This is going to give Red Bull a massive advertising opportunity at the Indy 500, if nothing else.
Yes. They hadn't labelled him up by this weekend, we noticed. He still had his own helmet.
And he still had his own name on the rear wing of the car. He's actually been sponsoring himself.
Yeah, he's going to get branded, I suspect, by the Indy 500.
Yeah, are we going to see him in an F1 car at the the post-Hungary test?
I guess it depends what the Indy schedule is.
Yeah, that one might be worth looking up. I'm excited.
Possible, or are they going to give Tictum more time?
Tictum's in this time, isn't he?
Yeah, Tictum's in this week. He's testing alongside Pierre Gasly. I mean, I guess a lot of it comes down to how Tictum does in Super Formula, and at the moment, that's not
I suppose they can put Tictum in the Red Bull and O'Ward in the Toro Rosso.
Yeah,
that's the thing. They've got a possibility of 4 cars to play with, because if they're volunteering to do work for Pirelli, then they can have 2 cars on track at the same time per team. So you never know, but I'll be interested to see what Pato O'Ward can do, because he's looked good in IndyCar from what I've seen so far this season, apart from his kind of cock up on Saturday.
Still ended up having an okay-ish race.
Yeah,
though.
Rescued himself pretty well after that. He was great in Indy Lights last year. He looked good in the Race of Champions. This could be the next driver to come through to F1 that actually makes a bit of a splash.
And I've just checked the calendars. He has got a week off during Hungary.
So there is the potential there. You heard it speculated here first. What else have we got? The Schumacher movie. I think we've already mentioned that Craig Scarborough is going to be on next week, so we can move past that one. Yeah, apparently there's a documentary on Michael Schumacher coming out at some point this year. Looks like it's going to be one of the sort of Senna-type ones. But with new interviews with people around him as well. Worth keeping an eye on for that, because that's going to be a good watch.
Be interesting.
If there's a lot of behind the scenes Benetton and Ferrari stuff that they've managed to get their hands on, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I think it depends It depends what your sort of preconceived ideas of Schumacher are, I suppose.
Well, that's the thing. You got he had a very good media team behind him, and you got what they said. If there's any sort of candid stuff in the garage,
no, but I mean more. It depends what you feel about his racing and how he went about it, and how honest that film is about the way he went about it.
Mm.
You know, if they happen to skip over driving clean into Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve, for instance, or the fact that the Benetton looked like it might have been cheating. If we just gloss over this stuff and go, "Oh, wasn't Michael wonderful?"
Looked like it to everyone apart from Max Mosley.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I
think there's potential for it to be good if we get a no holds barred warts and all kind of thing. That's the kind of film that I'd be looking forward to seeing.
But if it's just hagiography, just saying this guy was the best ever,
then
that won't be worth watching.
No.
Yeah. Bit like Mick Schumacher's career, there's potential. Let's just see if it gets fulfilled. On that note, shall we shunt it?
Yes, let's do it.
No theme tune this week, but we've had requests for the theme tune to come back, so we're going to record one and use it as a drop-in. Now, Niska wants us to do a screaming death metal version, apparently.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
I was going to say, I've
as an indie kid, definitely we can do that.
As a screaming metal fan, I'm well up for that. Whose is this week's from?
This is one. It's by Stephen Colbert. Is it Colburn? Sorry.
Oh
yeah. I've had a load of people message me saying we use mine this week, and Stephen was the first one, so that's why I'm using his. So. Yeah, but thanks for yous are on the list there, so I'll get there.
Just keep sending regular reminders.
Oh, absolutely.
You might have if me and Sean are doing an extra show with Sean before Canada, find the hardest ones possible and send them over.
Absolutely.
Although you won the last one against Sean.
I did actually somehow.
I was born.
Great start.
In 1985.
Okay. So Hamilton.
I have driven alongside drivers such as Sebastian Vettel and Sergio Perez.
Not Hamilton.
So let's have a think. Sebastian Bourdais?
Could be. When would he have driven alongside Perez?
Perez. Well, he Bourdais came through sort of American, didn't he? He was in IndyCar before he was in Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
So he may have encountered.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah.
I have been part of the Renault driver program. I would like a guess.
Okay.
Never really followed young driver programs up until about
no, they've not been a big whoop
years.
really up until quite recently, had they? No, I had half a brainwave then, but no.
You might be in with a shout with Bourdais. I think that's probably the best thing that we've got at the minute.
I don't know that he would have been. Well, actually, no, he's French, isn't he? So he might have been in the Renault Young Driver program. Yeah.
Yeah. Go with Bourdais first.
I am exactly 6 foot.
That's very specific.
He is quite tall, isn't he?
He is one of the taller ones. Yeah.
So that.
Okay.
I've been part of the McLaren Young Drivers program.
How tall is Gary Paffett?
I think Gary Paffett's quite short.
Oh, talking of which, McLaren are using Oliver Turvey as a young driver this week.
How tall's Oliver Turvey?
I don't know, but he's 32. So we're not talking about him now.
It's not him. Yeah.
Gary Paffett's swearing.
Many people would recommend a name change on Twitter. I don't know.
This is interesting. So who has a funny Twitter name?
Is it the guy you were talking about before?
No. I'm not the guy I was talking about before.
Do you need a guess on this one?
No, this is number 6. Yes, I do.
No.
This is number 6. I do.
Flying through the clues. So someone who was on the McLaren Young Driver program, that would explain how they drove with Perez. Potentially, if it was someone who was knocking around circa that time.
So that'd be 2011 when Perez was there.
Was Perez a McLaren young driver?
No, it was a Ferrari. It was a Ferrari young
Yeah.
driver.
McLaren.
Yeah.
I'm going to rush it.
Heikki Kovalainen, how old's he, do we think?
Possibly about the right age.
'Cause he came through Renault, didn't he? And then he ended up at McLaren. Obviously, he wasn't at McLaren as a young driver. He was out there as a driver, but maybe
He's not
he
counted
had...
as a human being anymore. He's turned
Is he
into a
not?
being of pure energy, and just now and again he embodies himself in Bottas.
Brilliant. Would he be
He'd be about the right age,
the
I
right
think.
kind of age?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I joined Twitter in 2009.
Isn't that when most people
You were
join?
going to say that's when it got popular, wasn't it?
I made my F1 debut in 2012.
Right,
So
not
that's not-
Kovalainen
not
or
Kovalainen.
Bourdais. 2012.
Who debuted in the 2012 season?
So is it? This is the third of the Vettel years, isn't it? 2012.
Yeah. This is tough.
This is
Can you repeat the question about driving alongside Vettel and Perez? Just want to hear the.
Is it?
exact
Oh,
words.
is it Hulkenberg?
I have driven alongside drivers such as Sebastian Vettel and Sergio Perez.
He was Perez's teammate for a little while.
Yeah.
They would have come through. Were they both Formula BMW?
Yes, they were.
And he had the year at Williams and then a year out and then came back.
And he's
and
done
he's
Race
tall.
of Champions
And he's
as
tall.
a German.
Yes.
Yes.
And he is a tall boy, isn't he? Yeah.
Nicely.
I think that's where we're at.
My highest finish was 14th. Oh, sorry, my highest F1 finish was 14th.
Not Hulkenberg.
Not Hulkenberg.
No.
Every time I think I've come out with a sensible idea, something else gets.
So we're
Right,
looking at
someone shit.
So we're looking at somebody who was in one of the backmarker teams.
Yes. 2012.
There's 2 9s.
That's all right. Give us a minute to do some maths.
So you're on question 9, aren't you?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I don't know. I've lost count.
So, was 2012 when HRT, Caterham, and Virgin came in?
I think that was the year before.
But all the 3 crap teams were still going in
I
2012.
think so.
yeah.
So this could be Bruno Senna? Or would he have been the year before? Did he come in with HRT? Yeah, because he had a year at HRT and then he was at Williams in 2012
Yes.
with Maldonado.
HRT would be such an unfortunate name for a Formula 1 team right now. Mind you, it did transition into not being a Formula 1 team.
That is true.
Their hospitality bus has been converted into some kind of holiday home somewhere in Spain. Like
Is
there's
it
holiday apartments or something.
Was it a van and now it's a boat?
I'm not quite sure.
It was a double decker and now it's 2 single deckers.
So who would have come in? Would it have been like
Who else drove?
Arthur Peake?
Oh, bloody hell.
Wow. Jesus.
Oh, you are dredging.
I am
You are
dredging some shit
names.
up here.
Would you like your last clue?
I don't think.
I don't think it's going to
You might
help.
be thinking of Charles Peake.
Charles Peake.
Arthur
Peake
only
is
got
the
as far
brother.
as GP2,
Yes.
didn't he?
I am famous for my Twitter quotes.
Guido
Oh,
van der
Guido van
Garde.
Guido van der Garde.
And the Guido van der Garde. I had to scramble then because one of the questions, the actual question number 6 was, I have been contracted for two Formula 1 teams at one point. I'm not saying that. I might as well say I'm Guido van der Garde.
Yeah, that's quite a good clue. That's
And then I had 2 9s, and And number 10 was supposed to be I raced for Caterham in 2013, narrowing it down to 2 people. Remember, people, we want clues here that might test people and not give them the names.
So how do you get a Total Shunt into you?
Tweet me in a private message at a Total Shunt.
And you can get the rest of us. The whole show is at 3 Legs 4 Wheels.
I'm at Sean Cowper.
I'm at Dan Dangleton.
I am at Pablo100, and Chris is at Flood21. Shall we do Formula Lee?
Meow.
I'm just looking at what Guido van der Gaard's Twitter name is and why should he change it.
I just thought it was G van der Gaard.
He is just G van der Gaard, yeah.
Kind of gives it away who he is. Right, this 5th Formula Lee challenge of the season was a lap of Spain in the wet, in a McLaren. And I will put my hands up and say, sorry. I really shouldn't have done that one. There was no grip whatsoever. There was a lot of sideways, and Sean, you will vouch for it, there was a lot of swearing.
From what I saw of your efforts, there were problems along the way.
Yeah, we'll go for issues. Time you needed to get into the top 20 was 1:33.706, and the ones that did it in 20th was Paul Large Simon. In 19th, Ben Raguska. 18th was Pete Bull. 17th, Ross Tuddenham. 16th was Joe Marsh. Where are we? 15th, Marcel Streak. 14th was Ricky Worrell. 13th, Julian McMahon Hyde. And Seek. I had to do that one before you did.
I wouldn't have done that one.
Like hell. 12th was Daniel Landevy. 11th, Vitya Camping. 10th, Matthew Morrison. 9th, Elliot Smith. 8th, Santerio Nasty. 7th, Rob McLowan. 6th, Michael J. Keller. In 5th was Kyle Armstrong. 4th, Alessandro Popolani. Joint 2nd to the 1,000th of a second, and we couldn't even give 2nd place to the one who sent it in earliest because they both did the times on the same day, with 1:31.841 between them, Ayrton Antonucci and Bradley Chambers. And winning this one with a time of 1:31.800 was Chris Olby.
Well done, Chris.
If you want to see how you did and you were outside the top 20, they will be up on the website. And we're going to need a Monaco challenge. So I reckon we've not done a Red Bull this season, and we'll have a dry race. So
Monaco is impossible.
It's impossible in the wet. You've got until 7 o'clock UK time on the 27th, the day after the race. I've got the right date, haven't
Yes, that's what I was just checking.
That's Monday the 27th. Right, I think that does it for this week, doesn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
We will have Craig Scarborough on next week, all being well. We'll be previewing Monaco. We'll be looking back at the testing. And with Scarbs on, it's going to be a bit of a technical special show.
I can't wait to get Scarbs back on because I missed him on last time.
Yeah, you were imitating Mick Foley on a hospital bed.
Busy dying.
Didn't work. Your beard's still ginger.
No, like everything else, though, I couldn't be bothered finishing it.
Well, I think we're going to finish the show now.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Arava bye.